Imagine this. You're staring at two job offers, five browser tabs of research, three different opinions from friends, and your brain feels like a tangled ball of wires. You keep thinking, what if I pick wrong? So, you stall, overanalyze, and quietly panic. What you're really missing isn't more information. It's a simple way to think about the information you already have. In this video, we're going to build that together. A clear, practical decision tree for adults. Not a complicated math diagram, just a guided checklist you can run in your head whenever you feel stuck. By the end, you'll know exactly what to ask, in what order, to move from foggy and anxious to calm and decisive. Stay with me because a few key steps near the end will lock this all into a habit you can use for life. Thinking clearly is less about being smart and more about having a reliable process. Most adults were never taught how to decide. We just kind of improvise and hope for the best. In this video, I'll walk you through a simple decision tree, a series of questions you can run in under 5 minutes to cut through noise, handle emotions, and choose with confidence. We'll cover when not to decide yet, how to separate feelings from facts, how to weigh long-term impact, and what to do when options still feel equal. I'll also show you how to adapt this tree for career, money, relationships, and everyday choices. If you care about growing your mind, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell because I make content exactly like this. And stay to the end. We'll recap everything into a short checklist you can screenshot or jot down and start using immediately. Before any decision, the first branch of your tree is surprisingly simple. Is this actually important enough to think hard about? Most of us burn mental energy on tiny choices while avoiding the big ones. So step one is to classify. Is this a low, medium, or high impact decision? Low impact, easily reversible, low cost, short-term effect, like which movie to watch or what to cook tonight. Don't overthink these. Set a quick timer and decide. Medium impact, matters for weeks or months, like buying a device or planning a trip. Give these some structured thought, but not your entire weekend. High impact, not easily reversible and affects years. Career moves, marriage, big financial commitments. These deserve your decision tree in full. Label the decision's impact first. If it's low, move fast. If it's high, slow down and stay with this process. Once you've decided the decision is worth thinking about, branch 2 is, do I actually need to decide right now? Clear thinking often starts with refusing to be rushed. Ask 3 quick timing questions. First, is there a real deadline or just social pressure? A boss, a sale ending, a lease date. These are real. Someone else's impatience usually isn't. Second, what's the cost of waiting? Sometimes a small delay gives you much better information. Third, what's the risk of rushing? If a fast decision could create a long-term problem, that's a red flag. If you discover there's no real deadline and low cost to waiting, deliberately schedule a decision time later and stop looping on it mentally. On the other hand, if a real deadline is close and stakes are high, you commit to using the rest of this decision tree today. Next branch, separate facts from stories. When we're anxious, our minds mix what is true with what we fear might be true. Grab a sheet of paper or a notes app and create 2 columns, facts and stories. Under facts, list only things that could be verified by a neutral third party. Dates, numbers, written offers, specific behaviors, constraints. Under stories, list interpretations. They'll be disappointed. I'll probably fail. This always happens to me. Neither column is bad. Stories just need to be recognized as stories. Once you see them on paper, ask, which stories are actually helpful? I care about stability is useful. I ruin everything is not. For each unhelpful story, rewrite it as a grounded statement. I've made mistakes, but I also learn fast. Clear thinking is impossible if you treat fears as facts. This step gently untangles them. Now that you've separated facts and stories, narrow your decision to the real question. Many adults suffer from decision blur, trying to solve 5 different worries at once. Ask yourself, what single choice am I actually making right now? For example, with a job offer, you might be mixing, do I like this role? Am I afraid of change? Am I scared to disappoint my current boss? Those are separate issues. Your decision tree works best when each run-through has one clear question phrased as, should I do X by Y time? Or, which of these two options better fits Z priority? Write it as a one-sentence question at the top of your page. If possible, avoid vague wording like, what should I do with my life? Instead, narrow it. Should I stay in this role for another year or begin applying elsewhere this month? Clarity of question drives clarity of thinking. With a clear question, the next branch is values. Ask, what actually matters most in this decision? Not in life in general, specifically here. List 3 to 5 key criteria, common ones: health, time, money, learning, relationships, autonomy, stability, growth, impact, fun. Then, and this part many people skip, rank them for this decision. For a job choice, you might decide 1. Health and sanity, 2. Learning and growth, 3. Money, 4. Prestige. Another person might reverse that. There's no right answer, but if you don't rank them, you'll drift toward whatever is loudest in the moment: fear, status, or other people's expectations. When stuck between options, you'll later ask, which option better respects my top value in this context? The goal isn't perfection, it's alignment. Clear thinking is simply decision-making that stays loyal to what you've said actually matters. Only now should you really compare options. Create a simple grid, options across the top, your ranked criteria down the side. For each cell, quickly rate how well that option serves that criterion, say, from 1 to 5. Don't obsess over the exact number. You're aiming for relative clarity, not mathematical perfection. If you want, lightly weight the top 1 or 2 criteria by mentally giving them extra importance. When you step back, patterns usually appear. One option may be slightly worse on something minor, but clearly better on your top priority. This visual structure also reduces emotional fog. Instead of everything feels mixed, you literally see where each option stands. If 2 options come out very close, that's useful information too. It means either could work, and the decision is less about right versus wrong and more about preference and timing. Logic alone isn't enough. Your emotional state can warp how you read the grid. Next branch, emotional check-in. Ask 3 questions. First, what am I afraid of here? Name specific fears: regret, embarrassment, loss of security, conflict. Second, what am I secretly hoping for? Maybe recognition, freedom, adventure, peace. Third, on a scale of 1 to 10, how emotionally flooded do I feel right now? If you're above a 7, heart racing, mind spinning, your short-term brain is probably overdriving your long-term brain. In that case, your move isn't to keep thinking, it's to regulate. Take a walk, breathe, talk briefly with a neutral friend, sleep on it if the deadline allows. Clear thinking is a state, not just a skill. Once your emotions drop to a 5 or below, revisit your facts, values, and grid. You'll see the same situation differently. Even with values and emotions checked, one fear often blocks action: regret. So add a future self branch. Ask, future me, 5 years from now, looking back, what would I be most glad I chose? Picture your older self, a bit wiser, through a few more ups and downs, less obsessed with image, more with substance. From that vantage point, which option aligns better with your long-term story? Another version. If my closest friend were in this exact situation, what would I gently advise them to do? Distancing yourself a little often reveals what you already believe, but are afraid to own. You can even write a short paragraph from your future self to your present self, beginning with, "Here's what I wish you'd remember." This doesn't magically predict outcomes, but it shifts you from short-term anxiety to long-term integrity. Sometimes, after all this, you still feel stuck. That's often because you're chasing certainty instead of clarity. Next branch, test decisions with small experiments. Ask, is there a low-risk way to sample this path before fully committing? For a career change, maybe it's freelancing on the side, shadowing someone, or taking a short course. For a move, it might be a month-long stay before signing a long lease. For a relationship question, it could be a specific conversation or setting a 3-month experiment with clear expectations. Experiments do two things. They give real-world data and they reduce pressure, because you're not deciding forever, just for now. Your decision tree doesn't always end in a giant leap. Often the rational output is a test. If no experiment is possible, that's information too. You'll need to rely more heavily on values and risk tolerance.
At some point, you must choose. The commitment branch is where many adults freeze, endlessly reopening the decision. To break that loop, define in advance. What specific decision will I make and by when? Right. I will choose between option A and B by date time, using the process above, and then I will not reopen the decision for X period, unless major new information appears. That last clause matters. It gives your brain safety. When you decide, say it out loud, maybe to a trusted friend. Given what I value and what I know now, I'm choosing X. You're not promising perfection. You're committing to a well-reasoned path. Set 2 reminders, one shortly after, to begin taking first actions, another a few months later, to review, not relitigate. Clear thinking culminates not in endless analysis, but in decisive, reviewable action. The final branch of the tree is reflection, turning each decision into learning. After some time has passed, weeks or months, depending on the scale, run a brief review. Ask, 1. What actually happened versus what I predicted? 2. Which parts of my decision tree worked well? 3. Where did I fool myself? Facts, stories, values, or emotions? 4. Knowing what I know now, what tiny tweak would I make to my future process? The goal is not to beat yourself up. It's to upgrade your thinking system. Maybe you notice that you consistently underestimate stress, or overvalue status, or skip the experiment step. Note it down. Over years, this turns your decision tree from a generic checklist into something tailored to your personality and patterns. Clear thinking is a practice, not a single breakthrough. Let's quickly recap the decision tree so you can hold it in your head. Step 1. Decide if the choice is truly important. Low stakes? Decide fast and move on. Step 2. Check timing. Do you actually need to decide now? And what's the cost of waiting? Step 3. Separate facts from stories to clear the fog. Step 4. Narrow to one precise question. Step 5. List and rank your values for this specific decision. Step 6. Compare options using a simple grid, not just vibes. Step 7. Check your emotional state and regulate if you're flooded. Step 8. Consult your future self or a friend perspective for long-term wisdom. Step 9. Design small experiments when possible instead of all-or-nothing leaps. Step 10. Commit by a defined time, then protect the decision from constant reopening. Step 11. Reflect later to refine your process. Used consistently, this tree becomes a quiet, reliable ally in every big choice. If this decision tree resonated with you, don't just nod and move on. Turn it into a habit. Pick one real decision you're facing this week and walk through the steps. Importance, timing, facts versus stories, clear question, values, grid, emotions, future self, experiment, commitment, and later reflection. You'll feel the difference between reacting and deliberately choosing. If you want more tools like this for clear thinking, adult life skills, and calm productivity, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. In the comments, tell me, what decision are you going to run through this tree first? Career, money, relationships, or something else? I read what you write, and your examples can help other people feel less alone in their choices. If this helped, share it with one friend who's overthinking everything right now. Thanks for watching, and think clearly out there.